Hello, welcome to the Fish Nerds podcast. I'm Clay Groves, Chief Executive Fish Nerd, and this is another special edition, a little break from our normal format of segmented show, because last week I spent 5 days at the Virginia Aquarium collecting all kinds of storios and audio, and I was there for their Sensible Seafood program, so I'm going to take you through my week at the aquarium. It's crazy how much stuff I got to do, but they flew me down, put me up, and took really great care of a little old fish nerd like me, and I'm super happy to have been part of the Sensible Seafood program. And I'm just going to take you right through the week and share all these great stories with you. Okay, so airplane landed. I'm going to take you right to the beginning here. The airplane landed. Leslie met me at the airport. They brought me back to the aquarium. I bumped into my old friend Karen Burns, who last year was on the show. She's the director of the Sensible Seafood program. Last year we talked to her a lot about this program, and that's probably how I got invited back to the show. But we had big plans. I mean, they had an agenda for me. So right away, it was off to lunch with Leslie and with Karen and with April, a friend of ours, at the Abbey Road restaurant where we ate some sensible seafood. I had crab cakes. Leslie had she crab soup. No, Karen had sea crab. I forget who had what. But anyway, we had all kinds of great food. And then we had to head off straight from there to the local WholeFoods in Virginia Beach to talk with people there about sensible seafood, and I got a chance to chat with Fish Monger Dan. Now, Dan works at the WholeFoods, and man, that guy knew fish, and he was fabulous. So first, he started off by telling us what was in season and what is local and what we should be eating right now.
Hello, my name is Dan. I'm the Associate Team Leader at WholeFoods Market in the Seafood Department, and today we're checking out some of the stuff that we have to offer at WholeFoods Market. So it's starting to be the time of year where we get a lot of locally sourced seafood. Year-round, we're getting rockfish from usually from the Chesapeake Bay as far as the Choptank River entrance as far south of the Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds in North Carolina. But we'll be starting to get a lot of other fish locally soon as well. Bluefish, mackerel, speckled trout. The hot fish at our store, honestly, in Virginia Beach in this area is rockfish. Always rockfish. Year-round, we have rockfish available here, and it's sourced locally. Usually we get it from Norfolk through Georgia Seafood, but we can get it from many places, all the way as far as New Jersey, really.
A lot of places, rockfish, or you call them striped bass up our way.
Exactly.
They are caught hook and line. Is that how they're...
That is exactly how they're caught here, too. We don't allow any pound net caught fish to be sold at WholeFoods. That's a lot of the problem with why we can't carry the local flounders, that they're usually caught with pound nets, and that's considered red rated through the Safina Center, or the Blue Ocean Institute, as they used to be known as.
Sure, and you have with that too is a lot of bycatch that goes.
Exactly, turtles, anything that swims by is going to get caught in those nets because they're just stationary and they don't really have a whole lot of accuracy in what they're trying to pick out. They just clear out everything, and that's considered unsustainable and red rated through WholeFoods or with WholeFoods.
Right. What's your WholeFoods? That's your whole philosophy. You want everything to be fresh.
Everything has got to be sustainable without. Exactly.
Yeah. So I asked you earlier, my fault here. I come off the streets, I'm looking at a whole fish. How do I know if that fish is fresh? How do I pick it?
The number one indicator really is the eyes. I mean, same with humans. When you look at their health, there's a lot of it's through their eyes. But if they have clear eyes that are not sunken into the head, and then really red gills that still tend to separate naturally, they've not started to kind of goop together, but they still, when you open that fish's gills, they spread apart and are still bright red. That means they are still pretty fresh. But the eyes is the number one indicator. Clear, bright eyes.
If a customer came in and said, hey, pick up that fish, show me inside gills, all that, you're happy to...
Yeah, we absolutely do that. We have a lot of customers. We have a lot of customers who know seafood very well. I mean, we're at the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. It's one of the most diverse fishing areas, really, in the country, but some would argue in the world. You have freshwater and saltwater species combined, and you have the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, which is really a mecca for a lot of saltwater species, drumfish.
It's a big habitat, doesn't it?
Sorry?
It's a big habitat area.
Oh, it's a giant 17-mile bridge tunnel combo. It's quite an impressive structure, and a lot of fish really, as they're coming in and out of the bay, they kind of stage themselves at the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel as they're coming in and out. for a couple days for the weather to pass, whatever. So it is a very diverse area for many types of seafood down here. So the customers know what to look for.
So Dan knew so much about fish and fishing and everything. I talked to him for forever, but you know, what you got is what you got. But really, it was refreshing to be in a large chain supermarket that really understood sustainable fish and fishing. Our local markets up here in New Hampshire all have big, sustainable seafood claims on their stuff, but talking to the fish guys in our markets, they don't seem to know what as much stuff as Dan. So I went to the WholeFoods website and I pulled off their philosophy on sustainable seafood, so you would have an understanding what they consider sustainable. And one thing I found throughout this whole week is defining sustainable seafood is more challenging than you might think. So this is from the WholeFoods website. Fresh or frozen, we have traceability from fishery to store, and we only sell wild-caught seafood from fisheries that are certified sustainable by the Marine Stewardship Council or rated either green or yellow by the Monterey Bay Aquarium Seafood Watch and the Safina Center. We don't sell any of the red-weighted seafood you might find at other grocery stores. So I'm totally impressed with the way WholeFoods deals with their seafood. I wish all markets would be as responsible. Nice work, you guys. Special thanks to Dan for his time and for Elizabeth, the manager, for allowing us to chat with Dan in the store. Just a funny little sidebar there. I was trying to set the Fish Nerds displays up, and one of them has a giant foot, with fish eating the skin off one's foot, and they didn't want that set up in the food section for obvious reasons. But at the time I was opening, I didn't realize that was the one I was opening first, and I would have skipped it on my own anyway. But we had a really great time, and I'm super impressed with WholeFoods. I've actually never shopped in one before because there's none in my area. So nice job, WholeFoods, and keep it up, and keep people like Dan around. We need nerds like him who know fish and can help people make good, sustainable choices. Now, for the rest of the show, in between segments, I'm going to be doing two things. I'm going to be playing people defining on their own what sustainable seafood means. So you're going to hear what average people define it as. I just bumped into people in the aquarium, at WholeFoods, and on the streets, and I just asked them, what does sustainable seafood mean? And I also did a meet and greet session with the aquarium where we played Eel of Fortune. So I'll be playing little segments of both those in between segments on the rest of the show. But listen closely to people's definition of sustainable, and you will find that the aquarium is doing the right thing by trying to educate people on what that means. But first, let me give you the aquarium's definition of sustainable seafood, right? So they have what's called the Sensible Seafood Program. And what they want you to do is look at this as a resource for deciding what foods should you be eating, what fish should you be eating, and which fish shouldn't you eat. So the first thing they want you to look at is, what is a seafood source? Is a seafood from local sources, from other parts of the U.S., or imported? This is important because, like many other commodities, seafood can now be transported all over the globe. Seafood from local sources has potential to be fresher and reduces the financial and environmental cost of long-distance transport. Additionally, U.S. fisheries are better managed than most foreign fisheries. These factors are important when considering where a seafood item might originate. You also want to ask, how is the species population doing? This seems obvious, but in order to know if a seafood we are consuming is a good choice, we need to know about the life history of the species and its population. Is it abundant? Is it disappearing? Some species easily reproduce in large numbers and grow to maturity very fast. Others, such as sharks, reproduce and mature very slowly. Understanding these factors is critical for good fisheries management. Is it wild-caught or farm-raised? To meet increased world demand for seafood, many species are now raised on farms, a process called aquaculture. In some cases, the wild stock of a species may be depleted, but there is a sensible supply from aquaculture, like Virginia oysters and catfish. In other cases, the farm stock has been associated with problems, and wild-caught stock is the better choice, like some imported shrimp. How is seafood harvested? Are the fishing or aquaculture practices environmentally sound? To answer this question, we must understand fisheries and aquaculture techniques and how they are applied for harvesting different seafood species. Some fishing techniques like bottom trawling or dredging have the potential to damage the ocean bottom. Others may have unintended catches of fish, crabs, or other unwanted animals. That's called bycatch. And can even include accidental drowning of sea turtles and marine mammals. Finally, poorly managed aquaculture operations can damage coastal ecosystems. In well-managed fisheries and aquaculture that utilize sound techniques to minimize bycatch and ecosystems impacts provide the best seafood choices. Now, there's a lot going on here. So that's why it's important to have resources like the Virginia Aquarium. They have a seafood guide you can carry in your pocket. You guys go to Monterey Aquarium's website, Monterey Bay Aquarium website, and you can get their seafood list there. And what I've been encouraging people to do is just start asking your server at restaurants, where was this fish caught? And usually that's enough to know if you should eat it or not. If they can't tell you where the fish is from, maybe you don't want to eat it. Aileen, and where are you from?
Mexico.
You're from Mexico? Fantastic. What does sustainable fish mean to you? That's a tough one. Sustainable fish. I don't know either. But that's okay. You can have a sticker anyway. Thank you. Sustainable fish. Tough question today. You can ask, I can tell you if you want. Tell you what? Tell you what sustainable fish means? Well, that's a very good question. I think sustainable fish are fish that you eat that are plentiful, meaning there's a whole bunch of them. They're local, which means they're caught near where you live. And they're in season, which means you can catch them tomorrow and eat them tomorrow. So I think, to me, that's what it means to me. But everyone has a different thing on what that means. That's why I was asking you. I really cared about what part of Mexico are you from? So your name and where you're from, and I want you to tell me, what does sustainable seafood mean to you?
My name is Nick Wehrman from Kingston, Massachusetts. Sustainable seafood, I guess means keep the environment clean, make sure that what fish ingest is safe for us, because we're going to ingest it on the second hand, so making sure it's safe like that.
Cool. And have you enjoyed the aquarium today?
Yeah, very much so.
Pretty great, isn't it?
Yeah. Go to the Boston Aquarium a lot, so it's nice to see the difference. I feel like this aquarium's a little more educational, shows you a little bit more nitty-gritty.
Come on up. Yeah. What is your name?
Rachel.
Rachel. Okay. I am recording this for the podcast, so I need to hear words. All right. Eel of Fortune. Give it a spin.
All right. I do kill Wheel of Fortune, so.
Ooh, collections of creatures. If you get two of these three right to win, I'm going to read you either the name of a group of animals. For example, like if you were talking about cattle, you say herd, and okay, that's cattle, herd of cattle. So I'll read you the name, and you tell me what kind of animal, or I'll read you the animal, and you tell me what they call that grouping is. You weren't here when I gave away all the answers earlier, right? So this is perfect. Oh, you got crows, right? All right, I'm going to start easy, okay? How about a fever?
Of race.
Perfect, good. How about an army? And by the way, these are all ocean or close to water related. So they're all going to be ocean or close to water. This one particular one is actually a bait fish, if you need a hint.
Tuna?
No, tuna would be a game fish, right? Bait fish would be what tuna
bait.
eat.
I thought you said big fish.
No. Bait is
bait
what
fish.
tuna might
Then
eat. You're warm. Should we keep letting guess until she gets it?
She should get it.
What? Herring. All right. So you've got two right.
If I get the third one, then I get
Well, you already won. So how about a lap?
a lap.
A lap.
Crap.
This is one I didn't give away earlier.
Okay, so this is all ocean.
Ocean. This is a fish.
Lap. See, I feel like none of these actually make sense to what the animal is, so it's always really hard.
Sometimes they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't give it away. It might get a chance. How about a lap? This is a fish that there's a moratorium on catching right now in most of the East Coast, and it is the fish that helped shape American culture. One of the most important fish in our culture.
Shad?
Shad is one, by the way. Shad, there's a great fish we were talking about called the founding fish, and shad is an important fish in our culture. But one more that's a little more noticeable. That people know its name. It's probably the most common food fish ever in our country. Once we settled, and it rhymes with odd.
Cod?
Oh, hey, you got it right. All right, you get it.
Yay, it took a lot. lot.
You get a subscription to the Fish Nerds podcast. Yay! Okay, after we finished up at the Whole Foods, after we were done, we went across the street to Wasserhund Brewery. That's WASSERHUND brewing.com for great beer and trivia. We nearly won at trivia, too. I'm just going to say, we didn't mean to play trivia, but we ended up playing it. And we were just about to win when the answer was traveling wilburys, which I said, but it was so loud in there. Karen heard me say traveling mulberries, and we lost everything, all because of Karen. Anyway, but anyway, great little brewery. Really, really good food. I highly recommend that you get the bratwurst while you're there. It's going to make you want to stay for 2 hours. So go there, order beer, get the bratwurst, tell them that the Fish Nerds sent you, and have a great time. But really delicious beer, nice place, and they were super good to us, which I always like. And go there on Mondays for trivia because it is awesome. And then from there, they brought me home. I was exhausted, home to my hotel room, my home for the week. I got to stay at the Oceanfront Inn in Virginia Beach. They were kind enough to put me up for the week, treat me super, super great, comfortable beds, nice people working there, and again, took great care of me. So I highly recommend you check those guys out when you're at Virginia Beach. But man, I was so tired. I went right to sleep. I was right in bed. And first thing the next morning, I get a text from Leslie. It's time to go to work. And work means I get to go to the aquarium, which is so much fun. If you haven't been to Virginia Beach, get there. Get to the Virginia Aquarium and Marine Science Center and have a great time. So we headed directly to the aquarium, and this is where I got a really, really amazing behind-the-scenes tour. But even bigger than that, I got to go behind the scenes with the seals. Now, I wasn't allowed to record or take very many photos back here, but I was super impressed. I want to thank the seals and the seal workers. I don't know if they call them trainers or not, but they sure were trained. It was so much fun. Sarah and Betty, thank you so much for showing me the seals. The seals did a cool painting for my kids. I got to pet a seal, and I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this. I cried when I touched the seal. It's like one of those childhood dreams, I got to touch a seal. So I got to touch a seal. I'm just telling you. Awesome sauce. From there, I did a lot of aquarium-y stuff. And then I had a lot of questions about conservation and stuff, and they recommended that I head upstairs to the executive offices. So I got to go up the fancy, super secret hidden elevator and talk to Mark Swingle. Mark Swingle is the director of conservation at the Virginia Aquarium, and this guy knows stuff. So I sat down with him for a little bit and chatted with him about conservation.
All right, my name is Mark Swingle. I'm the Director of Research and Conservation here at the Virginia Aquarium and Marine Science Center.
And you're popular.
Well, we have a division here called Research and Conservation, and so we actually have researchers that work here at the aquarium. And we're involved in a lot of different projects that relate directly to conservation of wild animals and wild places. So this is, I'm prejudiced, of course, but I think it's one of the more exciting parts of the aquarium because we get to go out and work with animals in the wild, and we do research on really cool species like sea turtles and marine mammals like whales and dolphins, and we encounter a lot of unusual fish when we're doing that too. So it's really pretty exciting.
What's the big thing happening right now in your research? What's the one kind of driving thing right now that you guys are loving?
Yeah, I guess because we do a lot of research on sea turtles and marine mammals, we do. We're really interested in, of course, the impacts to those animals. Those are both of those groups of animals are sometimes they're endangered species, sometimes they're threatened species, but they're all of them have had issues at one time or another in terms of their populations. So studying them and trying to figure out what's impacting them and what's affecting them is a big deal. We've had a lot of whale strandings this year, which right here in Virginia we're up to 7 large whale strandings, and our record for an entire year was 6, and we're already above that. This year we're already beyond it now, and so that's been concerning. These whales get hit by ships, believe it or not. It's still not everybody quite understands why a whale and a ship can't get out of the way of each other, but it's a problem out there, and we're trying to study it and figure out why.
So I never even hear about that. So that's amazing.
It's the leading cause of anthropogenic cause of death for large whales is ship strike. Entanglement in fishing gear is kind of the second one. Mostly commercial fishing gear. Surprisingly, it's the passive gear. It's the gear that's set out there. And they get mostly entangled in vertical lines. So you're from the Northeast, so you buoys there are out there. Sometimes it's just a maze as far as you can. Vertical lines are a big problem with for whales that get into areas like that and that feed in areas like that. So those are ongoing issues that we deal with, but they're pretty exciting. We've had our successes here. We worked with some local fishermen that run a particular kind of fishing gear called a pound net, and we worked with some fishermen and we developed some alternative gear for their net. And that gear has almost completely eliminated dolphin entanglements that used to happen. It's kind of probably hard to explain just without pictures, but a pound net is like a trap gear, so it has a big long leader net in front of it, and the only purpose of that net was to turn fish. It was a barrier in the water. The fish would see it or sense it and turn toward deeper water and swim into the trap, and then they'd be harvested out of the trap. So the animals the sea turtles and dolphins were getting entangled in the leader. Mm-hmm. And so we worked with a fisherman, and what we came up with was a leader that didn't have actual netting in it, or at least wasn't all netting. The bottom is still traditional netting, but the upper 2/3 of it now are these stringers that are about 2.5 feet apart. And it turns out that those stringers are equally effective at turning the fish that they're trying to sense it. And it turns them, and they go into the trap. And
genius.
And and a fisherman came up with that idea. It wasn't us. This guy came up with it and thought we should try it, and we tried it. And now, that's the gear that's used in most of the nets out here, and there's very few entanglements in there anymore.
Well, that's a huge success. It's a big win. So
big win both ways,
Right, and that's kind of thing. There's a lot of people, they see fishermen and conservationists as two different entities, but really fishermen benefit from conservation and they're on the water every day, so scientists can benefit from their knowledge. So it should be a good team.
The idea behind this was generated by a fisherman, and then we tested the idea to make sure that it would work. And really, most of the testing was around whether it would catch fish equally well. So those are the kind of things that are really important. And you're absolutely right. I mean, the way we really get things done is if we work together. I mean, that's the way to get things. That's the best way to get things done. It's always been the best way.
We all should be doing that. We've been talking a lot about diversity since our visit here with Sensible Seafood Week and all that, and it's one of those things where no matter what we're doing, if we can diversify our approach, which means working together, it's going to win. And you can just take that message.
Works better every time.
Everywhere. Yeah. So it's really, really great. So on our show the last few weeks, we've had listeners talking a lot about harbor seals in New England. Okay. And it's a conservation win right now. The population of harbor seals is at a record high right now. But our cod stocks are not coming back, mostly because of overfishing historically. It's been years and years and years of beating these fish up. Yeah. So one of our callers called in and he asked, up down the Cape, in Cape Cod, people are saying the cod aren't coming back because the seal population is too high. We need to start culling that population. He called in. He says, what do you guys think about this? And last week we reported that only about 20% of the diet of harbor seals is cod, and the rest is everything else. Right. But I thought since now we're here, I got the seal experience this morning, maybe we can dig in a little bit deeper on that. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we're probably not. You're probably going to get the best seal experts in your neck of the woods up there, but just because while we have seals here, and of course we have some here in an exhibit, we're on the real fringes of seal population.
They're more north.
They're much more north, and we do have seals here now, and in fact we have. It used to be the isolated seal we'd see every now and then. Now we have populations of seals. You can go out on the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel that crosses the mouth of the bay, and those rock islands that anchor each end of the tunnel. And there's one of those islands out there that in the wintertime, you can go out there pretty much any day and you'll see a pretty healthy group of harbor seals hauled out on those rocks out there. They look fat and happy, and And you never saw that 20 years ago. So the populations of seals are doing very well.
They're doing really well, which is a huge conservation win. And I've always kind of like, historically, if you look at like how fishermen look at wildlife, if you look at what happened to ospreys, fishermen assumed ospreys were taking all the fish, and it became a hunt on the ospreys. And you have bald eagles. And so I always wonder, like, you know, in the wild, the fish are going to find their balance with the wildlife, with everything else.
I think I think we tend, I don't know, it's a human thing. I think that we always try to find a scapegoat. You know, you always want to point at some issue, some animal, some issue that's causing the problem. You know, we don't like to think that we're the cause of the problem, but often it is. And, you know, I've had that conversation around here with folks with striped bass and blue crabs and cow-nosed rays and things like that, and they want to know why. You know, they blame the fact that at one point it was the fact that the stripers weren't coming back because of menhaden fishing, which is a huge issue, you know, here locally in the bay, or the crab populations were in trouble, and maybe that was because there were too many cow-nosed rays and things like that. And one of the things I like to remind all of them is that, you know, when we look historically at when we try to, if we have the information, we try to base whether or not populations are healthy versus some past time when we deemed them to be healthy. And guess what? There was a time when not only were there plenty of this species, but there was also plenty of that species. So the idea that one can't be healthy and plentiful without the other one is not very sound historically.
And they kind of need each other.
They do.
You know?
Absolutely.
And then we're seeing, in New England, we're seeing the great white population on the rise because the seal population is up. Now, the seal population can only come up if there's enough food for them. So it all kind of goes down the food chain. And the people who are worried about it are the people who can't diversify their diets. And I think that comes back to the message of Seafood Week here is maybe we need to eat less cod. You know, maybe we need to eat the bait, eat the mackerel, eat the herring, eat the dogfish, whatever we can get.
Be adaptable.
Exactly.
We really do. I mean, these believe me, these animals are adapting all the time because they have to, and we really do too. I mean, you know, we don't look at it in crisis mode or anything like that, but we have to be adaptable. I mean, we're eating things today we weren't eating 50 years ago. So I mean, the things are going to change like that.
Yeah, and it's trendier now too. I'm seeing, you know, it's like 5 years ago everyone was talking about organic, eat organic, eat organic, and now I'm hearing eat local, eat what's in season, eat what's plentiful, and you're hearing the organic word being thrown around less and less because the marketing's overdone it, and now it's all about sustainability. And then there's this week is Sensible Seafood Week here, which I'm excited about. I'm so excited for Thursday. I can't tell you.
It's a great.
Are you going to the event?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's
a great event, and it's a great week. We've now stretched it into a week of events and things associated with it, and getting the message out there. And it's a wonderful event. Really exciting. It's become a sort of a real go-to social event for the area as well too, because you see your friends there, and you're there for a good reason, and you get good information, and it's the opportunity to talk about the things that, you know, I'm sure you have the same thing. You work with these things every day, and I work with fish and sustainability and conservation every day, but my neighbors don't, you know, and to have a setting like that, to be able to have those conversations is really pretty important.
And it has to happen. I spent some time doing some visitor interaction today in the aquarium, and I was asking kids and parents, what does sustainability mean to you? What does sustainable seafood mean? And about 50% didn't quite know the word sustainable. And it's not because anything's wrong with them, it's because it's not their world.
That's right.
And that's kind of, so they're here, now they're learning it, and they're picking it up, and feeding each other will do that, and building that community, which is really great. And this is a big fundraiser for the aquarium?
It's a fundraiser, and it's a fundraiser to support our Sensible Seafood program. So it's really a win-win, really. Our program, of course, this is our big sort of signature event of the year. But gosh, the program really, and the success of the program has been its outreach into the community, to the restaurants, to the retailers that are selling seafood. And now I'm sure Leslie probably told you about this new local Virginia seafood guide project that we're working on, which we're really excited about. So that's really how you get the word out there. I mean, the event is great, and it's a wonderful event, and we get to touch and reach a lot of people that evening. But really, the work goes on year-round. It's a year-round effort for us.
Yeah, and I've eaten at Catch 31, and I've seen your logo on their menus. I've eaten at Crocs, seen it there. I've eaten at Murphy's, I've seen it there. I've eaten at Abbey Road, and I've seen it there. So, like, it's all over Virginia Beach. The local restaurants are supporting it, which is, I think that's going to drive these kind of things, having that local support of a program. So congratulations, it's totally fun. And
thanks. It's been fun. It's one of those programs that it's meaningful. I mean, it's definitely something that we believe in as part of it. Really fits into our conservation mission and sustainability mission. But it's also a fun thing. You know, it's the kind of thing that, and I think this Sensible Seafood Fest embodies that, the sort of fun spirit of it as well, because it's sort of like what you were talking about, where, you know, eating sort of things that we maybe didn't think about eating isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's actually a really exciting thing. And people get exposed to those kind of things here at the Sensible Seafood Fest.
well, I think I was a friend of mine used the phrase, I have a box in my brain that says food and a box that says not food. And to get one to move from the not food box into the food box is a really big challenge. But I think once you start moving them, the box falls apart. And you start looking at everything as food.
And you start thinking, what else is out there?
What else, you know? Yeah. I mean, I've in New Hampshire, I've eaten with my daughter, I've eaten giant water bugs that we've caught. You know, and my daughter's to them, and my oldest daughter's 10, she thinks nothing of eating something weird. Like, to her, that's what we do, which is really fun, which is counterculture almost. It's like the new punk rock is eating weird food, you know? So it's totally good.
Absolutely.
Well, that's totally great. Well, hey, thanks so much for your time. That's all I need today.
All right. Thank you, Clay.
Perfect. All right. So, what's your name?
Alex.
And where are you from?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. And what does sustainable seafood mean to you?
Seafood that you can actually eat that's not venomous.
Not venomous. That's interesting. We haven't had a lot of people who've said that about it. And everyone's had a different thought on what that means.
I was just guessing.
That's a good guess. It's a good guess, and I like the way you're thinking. What part of Pennsylvania are you from?
Chris, well-managed fishery, you know, that they don't deplete the stocks and they take things responsibly so they still have time to, you know, regrow and come back.
Mia.
Mia
And Lauren.
And Lauren. And where are you from?
Virginia
We're
Beach.
just like, we live here. I mean, I would prefer someone saying like that's really fresh, but I would be kind of like on the fence about that.
About sustainable?
Yeah.
And what does sustainable mean to you?
Well, we just had a project on this.
You did?
Kind of like reusing, not reusing necessarily in the fish terms, but I don't know. It can hold a lot. There's a lot of them, I guess.
And your dad?
I'm Dad to Mia.
What is your name?
Mike,
Mike. And what does sustainable seafood mean to you?
what you eat, you can replace and keep going in perpetuity.
So is there a fish that you like to eat that you think is sustainable?
All of them.
All of them you like
Salmon, striper.
Wheel of Fortune! Oh, Pakua lies. Okay, I'm going to read you a story from the news. This is a real story. And you decide, is that news accurate or is it a Pakua of lies? See what I did there? All right. Rough fish get no respect, as evidenced by the most recent control method proposed by Australia for invasive common carp. Harpies are being called upon to afflict the big minnow and reduce its numbers. Is that a real thing, or is it a Pakua of lies?
I'll say it's accurate.
It is accurate. Yay! You get a sticker. All right, who wants to come spin the eel? Come on up. What is your name? Barb. All right, Barb's going to spin it. Eel of Fortune. Muppets! Are you a Jim Henson fan? No, I'm not. Good. You have to get 2 of the 3 questions right. I'm going to read you 3 choices. One of them is a real Muppet. The other 2 are fishing lures. Okay, so is it a fishing lure or is it a Muppet? All right, so we have Jean LaRue, Rinky Dink, or Slim Wilson. Which one's a Muppet?
Slim Wilson.
Slim Wilson is a Muppet. You got it. Nice job. By the way, I did not know that one. How about this one? How about Wolverine, Screaming Thing, or Sabile? Wolverine, Screaming Thing, or Sabile? There's no hints, just guess. No, yes. Yeah, that's right. Yes. No, I'm sorry, you're right. You get a prize. I'm not going to do 3 because I can save them for the next person. So, yeah, you get a Fish Nerds decal and a free subscription to the Fish Nerd podcast. All right. After my conversation with Mark Swingle, we went out for lunch to a local chain restaurant. And I'm not telling you the name of the restaurant on purpose because I want to tell you a story about it and I don't want to embarrass anybody. But we were eating lunch with Bruce, who owns Sam Rust Seafood. And he told us about his business. Sam Rust Seafood is really great. It's this local company to Virginia Beach that is been family owned for generations. And Bruce told us all about that. And we talked a lot about, sustainability and how his business runs in a way that hopefully works towards sustainability. And again, the reason I didn't tell you the name of the restaurant is because even in a restaurant that works hard to be sustainable, there's going to be mistakes. And we constantly have to be educating each other about seafood. And this particular restaurant, try to imagine you're serving seafood to people who work at the aquarium for the seafood program, a fish nerd who's recording a podcast live while you're there, and distributor of the food you're serving. And then getting it wrong. And they got the order a little bit mixed up that day. They just got the wrong fish and the wrong plates. But it's kind of a comedy of errors. But it gives us something to talk about because we really need to constantly be educating each other and ourselves about what fish we're eating and having that conversation. I also learned to talk to the manager afterwards that if you're not happy with your meal, please tell somebody right away so they can fix it and get it all just right. The food was actually really, really good. We just got confused on what fish we were eating. So let's make sure we get it right next time. But anyway, so Bruce, owner of Sam Rust Seafood, great guy. And he invited me to go fishing, but we got rained out and didn't get to go.
Snapper. You get the tuna?
I'll get the tuna.
And I'll get the other one.
Get the salmon on the second.
What do you get?
So there's
Snapper. But I don't want you to eat a salmon you don't want.
I like salmon.
Okay.
I'll get the first.
So,
Snapper.
Grilled.
Yes.
Oh, there's choices there too?
Yes, you can get Cajun or grilled. Let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want it Cajun or grilled?
Oh, grilled. I don't want Cajun. To me, all them spices, you ruin the fish.
Yeah, I know.
I want to taste the fish. It makes you drink too much of this.
There you go. And then, before you know, you got to order another one. That's nap time.
So you've done the herb glaze. Okay. You've done the.
Well, I just asked for grilled snapper, so.
I'll do the grilled yellowfin tuna.
Grilled yellowfin tuna? I'll do the grilled salmon. Grilled salmon? Yeah, what's the same, whatever that.
Yeah.
The simple grilled salmon. Anything else for you guys?
My mother's father, so I don't carry the last name.
Sam Rust was your mother's
Father. She was a Rust, and he started Sam Rust Seafood in 1938 in Phoebus, Virginia. Back then it was Phoebus, Virginia. Now it's Hampton, Virginia, the town of Phoebus. Nicknamed Little Chicago, actually. They had a lot of illegal gamblings and things back in the early times. Oh yeah, there's a great stories before my time, but back rooms at local bars, and that's why I had the nickname Little Chicago. And supposedly some mafia guys would visit from New York and stuff like that.
Used to do the rum runs up the coast. Like
Yes.
Virginia Beach was a stop.
So there's some classified information about Little Chicago, but my grandfather was a peddler, and he.
You don't mean a bicyclist.
Well, actually,
Peddler.
he did pedal a bike with a cart on the front
Is
basket.
that why they call them peddlers?
You know
I
what?
was making a joke. Now I'm like wondering, is that like a thing?
If we drilled down on that, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know that answer, but he would go to the local docks and buy fish and then peddle it to local restaurants. And
I
then
bet that's the thing.
he probably is. But he expanded, bought a truck, and when my mother grew up, they had a shack behind their house in Phoebus, and I remember them speaking about a cherry tree. He would pack the fish under a cherry tree, and he had old Coca-Cola coolers with slide tops, and that's where he stored his scallops and fish and things, because Hampton Hampton is actually the hub on the East Coast because you have southern seafoods coming out from Florida and you have northern seafoods coming from Canada and Boston. Hampton is a mid-Atlantic hub. Naturally, we have fantastic seafood here in the mid-Atlantic, but we also have great access to southern foods and northern foods.
Well, it's a good middle, almost like in the middle.
Yes.
On the whole East Coast, you're kind of right there.
Right. And another family business here in Hampton is LD Amory. Started about the same time, a little bit older than Sam Rust Seafood, but my grandfather and Meade Amory's grandfather conducted business. And LD Amory has a trucking company that runs from Hampton to the Midwest. So this is seriously the hub. The north, the 18-wheelers will come out of the north and the south, meet in Hampton, and then Amory's and other companies truck it west from here.
So they work together, they didn't fight.
A little bit, but we work together and we fight, so it's being fishmongers.
That's really fun. I should research where the word fishmonger comes from. Do you know the history of the word fishmonger?
I do not. But I'm sure somebody here can Google it real fast.
We're gonna find out. Now I have research to get on it.
Yeah.
So that's really fun.
But there's another company in Seaford, Delaware that actually runs to Los Angeles from here once a week. Mm-hmm. And they also come through Hampton and pick up the northern and southern and the mid-Atlantic seafoods and haul it all the way to Los Angeles, California.
So let me get it. I'm trying to get this whole thing. So you're Sam Rust Seafood and you're a distributor.
Yes, wholesale distributor.
Wholesale distributor, and so you just kind of push it out from here.
What we do is we buy locally from the Outer Banks, North Carolina, Virginia Beach, Virginia, all the way up the Eastern Shore of Virginia, and Ocean City, Maryland. So from Ocean City to Hatteras is within a less 200 miles of each other, and we concentrate on those products. And it's very seasonable. This part of the East Coast, we have all 4 seasons. Where Florida pretty much has one, and up north might have 2. Right. But so we have our own fish cutters. We break down our own fish. We have live lobster tanks, so we store up to 2,000 pounds of live lobster.
So right now, you're still not a giant company.
No, we're still a small business. We're still a small business.
That's great.
We ship nationwide, but our Sam Rust trucks deliver from the mountains of Virginia down to Hatteras Village in Carolina and in between.
So and now your kids are coming into the business?
Yes.
So would that be the 4th generation or the 3rd?
My brother and I both have sons involved in their early 20s, and they're 4th generation involved with the company.
That's really cool. And you know, like a personal philosophy on seafood? Do you have like this, when you go out, what is your philosophy? When you're just Bruce going to a restaurant somewhere, let's say you're not even in your region, right?
Okay.
So let's say you come up to like Boston.
Okay.
And you go to a seafood restaurant. How do you decide what to order?
Well, I will try to purchase an indigenous fare.
Yeah, and what would you say to so
in
someone
Boston?
Comes over,
In
a
Boston,
22-year-old kid doesn't know stuff. They're just trying to go to college. They get you, and you say, okay.
In Boston, I would order scallops and lobster.
You just know. Yeah.
And maybe some clam bellies.
Yeah, smart, right?
And
you already
for breakfast, I'd have lobster rolls and a Sam Adams.
Yeah, lobster rolls confuse me. I've never had one because the idea of taking lobster and like putting it in mayonnaise and sticking it on a hot dog bun blows my mind out. Like it just doesn't occur to me to do that. Like, it seems like a nightmare.
Don't forget the hot butter.
The hot butter. Well, hot butter's always good. Yeah. So, and what's the strangest fish you ever ate?
Strangest fish I've ever eaten. I gotta think about that.
All right, you don't have to. Maybe to you they're not strange. Maybe
well, I've eaten a lot of strange things. I'm trying to think of the most strange.
Any like snakehead, lionfish, any of those?
I've had lionfish in the Bahamas.
Oh, you have?
That was spearfish that day, and I'll tell you what, it's very good. And I actually have a request for a invasive species dinner that's coming up in August through Mike Hutt at the it's Todd Jansky from the Virginia Green Travel and the VCU Rice Rivers. They're doing an invasive species dinner in August, and I'm sourcing snakehead out of Maryland, I'm sourcing lionfish out of Florida, and blue catfish from Virginia for him.
Fabulous.
We would love to do something like that in Virginia.
If I can get y'all in touch with him, or if y'all want to, or we'll do it again.
Yeah,
But
okay.
snakehead
I like
fishing,
that.
that's something I want to do, bow fishing in Maryland for Potomac and Virginia.
Yeah, we tried straight snakehead, and I thought it was fantastic. Tasty.
Yeah, this is good. I've had snakehead and lionfish. Yeah, yeah. And we're selling about 1,000 pounds of blue cat a day.
1,000 a day?
We are 1,000 pounds a day.
That's tremendous.
It's really caught on. Farm raised.
It tastes good.
Yeah, farm raised catfish. We were using a Carolina supplier, and that was the big thing. And it's faded. And the wild blue cat. I'm good.
No, all together.
Oh, you can't do that.
Yeah, Bruce is
I got
paying.
you.
Yeah.
Got him on record.
By the way.
Got him on record. That's really cool that you're doing the blue cats.
Blue cats.
And you say they're outselling farm
yes,
raised
the farm
cats?
raised cat is dwindled. A
People
lot
like
of it.
wild fish. That's the
there's-
concept of wild
Well,
fish.
there's two drivers of that. First of all, the wild blue cat is much more attractive in price, and the second thing is people are looking to eat a sustainable fish, not a farm-raised fish.
Yeah, so we got just changing the people's market.
Well,
brains
that has
and-
been a big thing because 5 years ago it was 90% farm cat, whether it came from Mississippi or North Carolina.
Okay.
Now it's 90% wild caught cat, and my fish cutters are upset because they're cutting a whole lot of whole catfish.
And catfish can be funky to cut sometimes, so yeah.
Yes. Sometimes we'll get them iced in cartons. They're still alive. These
Well,
catfish are hard to die.
Most catfish are. You can wrap a catfish in a towel, put it in the
Yes.
refrigerator for a week, and let it go and be
Well,
fine.
and when I was about 14 years old, I used to fill a sink with tap water
Yeah.
and throw a catfish in the tap water. They'd been on ice for 3 days, and about half an hour later, he's swimming around having fun.
That's catfish.
Then he got to watch his buddies get skinned.
Yeah, it's always like I always torment my food before I eat it too. you know.
Well, we're tenderizing them.
Yeah, right.
What's the average size of a blue cat that you're...
We try for 4 to 5 pound, 4 to 6 pound fish to give people a nice fillet that is workable. There's blue cats that are really too big for some folks, and there's catfish, we call them dress cats, that head off and gutted, and they're under a pound. That's really too small for a fillet. So we try for 4 to 6 pound fish. It's right in the middle, and the customers like that size. 6 to 10 ounce fillets, boneless and skinless, is what we're striving for.
It's nice. But if you're eating your own catfish, those little 1 pounders are delicious. I mean,
Yes,
it's so good.
yes.
So-
But in a restaurant situation where you have to have the wow factor on the plate, you want people to feel like they're getting portions
Right.
for what they're paying
and
for.
a baked whole catfish that's 1 pounder is not attractive.
Yeah, unless you have multiple pieces of filet on the plate.
Exactly.
Are the restaurants serving it as blue cat, or are they giving a
Most of them,
fancy name just out of
it
curiosity?
depends on the restaurant. You'll see a generic name, well, this says catfish. Then, if it were my restaurant, I would totally call what it is, Virginia
you know
Blue
what?
Cat.
I think it's a marketing opportunity.
Oh,
You know,
yes, definitely.
People love the word wild.
Yes, they
They
do.
love wild caught. But
Yes.
to them, to a lot of people, the word wild caught is the same as the word sustainable. They don't see a difference, and it's a good opportunity. So it's good.
Thank you.
Very happy.
Thank you. Yeah.
Perfect. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I appreciate what you're doing and education, and the more we can expose these things to the public, and the better it's going to be for the local markets, whether we're on the East Coast or the West.
It's recording your name, where you're from, and what does sustainable seafood mean?
My name is Riley, and I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia. And
Sustainable seafood.
Each word separate.
Sustainable seafood. Seafood you can do. What seafood?
like a variety of seafood.
All right, so you can tell me your names, where you're from, and what does sustainable seafood mean to you? And you can answer separately. You don't have to agree. Okay? So go ahead.
Sustainable seafood.
So your name, where you're from,
Okay.
and what does sustainable seafood mean to you?
I'm Jeremy. I'm from Maryland. Sustainable seafood. That's a pretty big one.
It is a big one. Tom's helping you.
Oh, thank you. But when I think of it, the first thing that comes to mind is oysters, and because I would think that oysters is the most sustainable.
Why would you say that?
Well, with aquaculture, I
Okay.
wouldn't say harvesting oysters is sustainable, but
fishing, but aquaculture and oysters is the most sustainable way to eat fish in my mind. Is because, you put them in the water and then you don't have to feed them or anything. They feed themselves, they grow themselves. And that's when I think sustainable fisheries, that's the first thing that I think of.
Super good answer. Can't argue with that. The best answer I got so far is don't eat fish.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So what is your name?
My name's Danielle. I'm from Maryland. And I think sustainable fishing, I guess, it's not really something that can be like kept up over the years, but like eating the invasive fish is a good way to kind of deal with overpopulation of certain fisheries, and it helps to increase the other fisheries if those aren't outcompeting the other fishes that are native to the...
Who's next? Who wants to come spin the wheel? Hey, there's enough prizes for everybody, to be honest with you guys. Every single...
No, I couldn't think of anything up there. Right?
You can just guess. It doesn't matter. All right, Lisa's going to come up. All right. This is... Ew! Oh! She loves this. Go ahead, give it a spin. Fishy beers. Because I love this topic, so I'm gonna. You don't mind if I move that, do you? All right. I don't care. I'm in charge anyway. All right. So same game. Dancing trout or brookie brown?
Dancing trout.
Good. Nice job. How about Mako malt or longfin lager?
Longfin lager.
Wow. So you totally win. I'm going to give you a third choice anyway because it's fun.
Okay.
And this is my favorite one. I wrote this one. I'm really happy with this. Wall IPA. So wall IPA or ale wife. Wall IPA or ale wife. Aren't those great? Well, he's right. You got them all. Yeah. By the way, ale wife should be a beer because it's perfect. So nice job. Good job. We've just burned out that category. Karen, you want to come?
Sure.
Come on down and play Eel of Fortune. Okay, Muppets. Well, because earlier, before you guys arrived, we were drilling back and forth on the collection of the creatures questions, and so I gave them all away. So, you ready?
Yes.
All right. Thin fish, oh boy bird, or husky jerk? Which one's a Muppet? Thin fish, oh boy bird, or husky jerk? Oh boy bird is a Muppet!
I didn't even know that one.
Go,
but...
Pretend you know it. Say it with confidence.
Yeah, oh boy bird is a Muppet.
Everyone knows it. Okay. How about bay rat, inchworm, or Renoski? No, it's inchworm. Remember Oscar's pet? You knew this? You're like, Karen's stupid. You should not have said that. I can't believe Veronica. That was terrible. Like, she's kind of like in charge around here. She should not say that stuff.
She's in charge of her.
You should play trivia with her. All right. How about Smithwick, Deadly Dick, or Uncle Deadly? Smithwick, Deadly Dick, or Uncle Deadly? No, I'm sorry. It was Uncle Deadly. You know this?
Muppet?
Yeah. He's got a big, long kind of beauty thing going on.
Deadly just sounds like a really scary name.
Oh, that's okay. I'm going to still give you a sticker. All right. So the next day, I got to speak with a large group of staff and volunteers for a lunch and learn event. Last week's episode of the Fish Nerds podcast, I played that entire speech for you so you can go back and listen to me talk all about me for an hour. You're welcome. Enjoy that. But I'm not going to make you listen to it again. And then things got really cool. We had dinner at Loggerheads, which is this really great restaurant right at the waterfront with Trish and her son Yates. Now, Yates is going to be hiking the AT this summer, and he's going to come hang out here in New Hampshire with me when he gets really tired once he finishes the 100-mile wood in Maine. By the way, that night I ordered the Spider Burger thinking it would give me super Spidey powers, but it was a burger with a fried soft-shell blue crab on it, which is totally sustainable. And I highly recommend it if you like blue crab. That's all creepy looking and good. The next morning, Thursday, I had the morning to myself. So I took a Uber, my first Uber ride, down to the Virginia Beach fishing pier. And had a couple hours of fish, so I did it. I went out there with my collapsible fishing rod, and I got some sea worms for bait, and I fished for a long time and caught one like 6-inch ocean perch, met some super cool people, and then I had to get myself to the Sensible Seafood program, which was a big day. But while I was waiting for that to get going, I got to hang out in the aquarium some more. Matt, the PR guy, who took me on a behind the scenes tour, but then he handed me off to Mary and Julie. And Mary and Julie take care of the spotted rays. And this is the really coolest thing I've ever seen. Is if you've ever been curious, like in those giant tanks of rays and sharks and stuff at the aquariums, how the fish don't eat each other. Because I never made sense to me. I'm like, why don't the fish just eat each other? It's because they feed them so well. And how they do it is they feed most of the fish individually. They've trained the fish to come to paddles. They have these like sticks with a circle on the end with different patterns, like purple with white stripes or pink and yellow polka dots or whatever it happens to be. They've trained each fish to come to its own paddle. So when they put these paddles in the water, the spotted rays, for example, come up and they can put the food directly into the fish's mouth and keep track of what they're eating. And this is not just spotted rays. They did this with lots of fish, and turtles as well. But the coolest fish, my favorite, was they have this really big puffer fish, and they have this really long pair of tweezers, and they hand feed it with that. And they have a paddle for that little fish too. He comes up and bloop, pops the food right in his mouth. The reason they do that is if they just tossed handfuls of food in the tank, the fish would just consume it like crazy, the fast aggressive ones, and the slower fish, like the puffer fish, would never get any food at all. So these guys, they figured it all out, and it's pretty spectacular how they work it all out. I really enjoyed watching all of that. I also got to hang out with Evan. Evan is a diver and works for the aquarium, and he took me on an additional tour. He showed me how he grows, how he's growing 3, 2. Evan took me on a secret tour of the aquarium as well. I got to get close to and see an octopus, and Evan doing all kinds of work growing coral, and it's just really, really fun stuff that they've got going on there. I mean, this guy knew his stuff. Other thing, Evan gave me some shark teeth, and I'm really hoping he comes up north next winter and comes fishing with me, because he really seemed excited about talking about fish and fishing. But man, I really like hanging out with people who are smarter than me, which by the way, is all the time. But at the aquarium, these nerds are so nerdy. Really cool. Later that day, I got to go hang out with Ryan. Ryan is one of the educators there. And I got to feed, by myself, I got to feed the cow nose rays. This is a public feeding. The cow nose rays have this tank out in the middle, and they feed them throughout the day, all kinds of chopped up squid and fishes and stuff. And, of course, I'm trying to film it and take photos, and I'm clumsy. I'm tossing fish everywhere. I'm missing the water. The rays don't care. And I'm splashing guests. I'm dropping the food everywhere. I'm having a great time. I'm just thrilled to have been part of the entire week there at the Virginia Aquarium. And if this sounds like a big infomercial for the aquarium, it probably is. You should totally go there. Take it for what it is. It's just great. Great fun. Okay. And as the day wore on, everybody got busier and busier and busier. Restaurants started coming into the aquarium and set their booths up. The Sensible Seafood Festival was in the aquarium itself. So you have 22 restaurants coming in, setting up little booths all over the aquarium. So somewhere in front of like shark tanks and somewhere in front of the cow nose rays and wherever it happened to be. It's just all over the place. And the food starts coming in. It starts smelling really good. People are buzzing around me like crazy. I'm totally in the way. And then I get to go to a private function. There's this private function for donors and lots of really cool people. And I met some great folks there, did a lot of chatting, drank a little bit too much wine. And then they say, Clay, can I borrow you for a second? And I had to speak for a few minutes there about sensible seafood and the sustainable seafood program at the aquarium, which was really fun. I like standing behind a lectern and talking, so it was really great fun for me. But then the important job of judging the seafood festival. Now, really important, there were 22, I think, restaurants at this. I'm not going to read all their names here, but if you go to fishnerds.com, I will put a link to every single one of them on the website. And I was the judge of this, which is a lot of pressure. So I sat down with the Sensible Seafood Squad and came up with some criteria that I was looking for. And here it was. 1, is it sustainable? And I define that as, is it local? Is it in season? Is it plentiful? And is it harvested well? Like, if it's dredged up or something terrible, we wouldn't count it. 2, is it yummy? Does it taste good? It doesn't do any good to have sensible or sustainable food if it doesn't taste good. No one's going to eat it. And then finally, how much waste is involved with serving it? Is it served on a napkin, a paper plate? Is there nothing? I gave advantage to businesses doing zero waste. And I was prepared to give out super bonus points for anyone serving invasive species. So again, go to fishnerds.com for the complete list. I ate so much food that night. Just a few examples of things I had. I had smoked bluefish pate, which was fabulous. I had some kind of curry with tilapia, which was really, really good. There's some question for me about tilapia, but it was tasty. I ate all kinds of cobia, lots of blue crab. I had so many little crab cakes. I had she crab soup for the first time, and I thought I didn't like she crab soup. I love she crab soup. Our friends from WholeFoods were there, and they had this really great chowder. It wasn't New England, and it wasn't Manhattan, but it was yummy. My funniest one there was a restaurant there serving pulled pork. And I said to them, so why are you at the Sensible Seafood Festival? And their argument to me, which was a fair one, is the most sensible seafood to eat is no seafood. So how do you argue with that? It's perfectly logical and smart, but totally great time. And I had so many oysters, raw oysters, sandwiches. I mean, the fish was all over the place. So good. And the other night I had to choose a winner. And the winner actually was in-house. I chose Sodexo at the Virginia Aquarium. And the reason I chose them is I narrowed it down to about 4 different restaurants in the end. But this one, what they were serving were these little waffle ice cream cone looking things. They're maybe about 2 inches long, and they had this kind of like really delicious sweet red sauce on the bottom. And then they took blue crab and fried it in these little balls, like ice cream cones, served. So there was no waste served with this dish, and it tasted delicious. It looked great, and that's why I chose it. But man, they were so good. Everything was so good, and I can't tell you how much fun I had there. I got back to my hotel that night around 11. I was exhausted. I passed out, and I still had more stuff to do the next day. So the next day I got picked up in the morning by Leslie again and driven to the super secret aquarium. Now, a lot of people don't know this, and I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about it, but no one said don't. But most aquariums have a super secret backup aquarium. This is where a lot of real science happens, turtle rescues, collections happen, quarantines happen. This is where they keep all the fishes safe and make sure they can bring them into the aquarium without wrecking anything. And so I got a little tour of that place, and I bumped into Jeff, Rachel, and Alex, who were going to go out collecting for the aquarium. And I got to go with them. So we got out in it's like a 22 or 23 foot center console boat, and we headed out, and we spent, 3 hours on the water collecting fish for the aquarium. We were after whiting and ocean perch and summer flounder. And we caught a few of those things, lots of blue crab, and I caught a nice rockfish, which is a striped bass. We had a really, really good time. They took me back. Leslie picked me up, and then I was out of there. They drove me to the airport and sent me on my way. All in all, really, really great week at the Sensible Seafood program at the Virginia Aquarium Marine Science Center. I can't thank everyone enough for having me there. If I haven't said already, Lynn Clements is the executive director of the aquarium, and of course, she's the one who approves this whole thing, and I thank her for having me down. But really, I really want to stress to you, big thanks to Karen and Leslie from the Sensible Seafood Squad. We had quick lunch before we left, and so here's a little bit interview I did with them. All right, ClayGrovesFishNerds.com. I'm at Waterman's. This is Waterman's, right?
Yeah, Waterman's Surfside Grill.
Waterman's Surfside Grill, and I'm eating some Sensible Seafood because they're part of the Sensible Seafood program with the Virginia Aquarium and Marine Science Center. And I'm hanging out with Leslie Clements, who is are you the boss?
Hello. Hi. I'm Leslie Clements, and I work for the Sensible Seafood program at the Virginia Aquarium and Marine Science Center.
Now give us the pitch. Sell us the Sensible Seafood program. Why do I care about Sensible Seafood?
So our mission is to promote seafood that makes sense for a healthy marine environment. But when we talk about that, it can include fishers, it can include watermen, the fish themselves, and the people eating the fish. So we want everybody to win. So when you support a healthy marine environment, that ecology includes everyone, and everyone's got to win. So fish populations survive into the future, fishers survive now and in the future, and people get to eat yummy seafood now and in the future.
And it is yummy, right? So tell me, if you were to define, I asked a lot of people this last week, what does sustainable seafood mean? Now you're the expert. Give us the definition. Tell us what sensible or sustainable seafood means.
Well, the long answer is that fish populations, especially looking at seafood, fish populations that can survive into the future without harming the current environment. To shorten that, sensible seafood is seafood that's fished or farmed in environmentally friendly ways.
Can you give us some example of two fish that are very similar, that one is sensible or sustainable, and then one maybe you should steer away from? Do you have any fish that have they're similar names, but maybe one's very different than the other?
Well, for example, people love salmon. Salmon is the second most popular seafood in the U.S. Number 2. So salmon's number 2, and people love it, and it's good for you. It's got a lot of omega-3s, but it's not necessarily, everybody can't eat all the salmon all the time. So if you're looking for an alternative that's a best sustainable choice, try Arctic char. Farmed Arctic char is one of the best choices, especially for us. Virginia is the third largest producer of seafood in the country, so it's big business here. And when you're looking at sustainable seafood, we want you to buy local when you can. That's number 1. Look at the guide that we put out. We have a guide on virginiaaquarium.com that you can check out what's the best choice, good alternatives, or things to avoid. And those are published for our guests, folks that are listening that are international or maybe in all over the U.S. Monterey Bay Seafood Watch actually produces a guide. You can actually go online, check out what the best choices are for your area. Now, ours is available at virginiaaquarium.com, but you can also ask us or ask your local aquarium to help you out. And then also try something new. So that salmon versus Arctic char comparison. So buy local when you can, but if you're looking for a better replacement for something that's a familiar favorite, try something you've never tried before.
That's perfect. Also, I wanted to say, Karen Burns is next to me. Hi, Karen.
Hello.
So Karen, you're the boss, right?
I am the boss. I'm the project manager.
And Karen was on the podcast last year. We did a whole episode on sensible seafood. And actually, right now, I just want to thank you for having me down because for a small-time podcast like me who loves fish and fishing and is totally nerdy, I'm touched to be thought of. So thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And I think just having you here really made a big impact having a local guy just here talking to our big donors last night, our PNC sponsors, was really impactful for them because you just talk from your heart. It's just something you love and something you believe in. So thank you for making the trek down to Virginia Beach. And today you've got a beautiful sunny day.
And I caught fish today.
And you caught fish today.
So it's a good day.
Totally great. Well, thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
Eel of Fortune! Wow! How did that happen? It was like you are some kind of special. That's amazing. Collection of creatures. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to read you the name of a grouping of animals. Like, for example, murder of crows. So I'll say murder, you say crows, or I'll say crows, you say murder, and you just match them up. You ready? All right. It does. How about a bloat? A bloat. This is a mammal that spends most of the time in the water. A bloat. Yeah, and this is a mammal that spends most of the time in the water. A hippo is a bloat. Yeah. That's remarkable. How did you know that? She got hippo, Karen. Can you believe it? She just guessed. It's a miracle. I'm going to drink to that one. All right. How about a shiver? A shiver. And I'll give you a hint. This is a fish I talked about in my presentation tonight, and it's big. Oh, perfect! How dare you? How dare you come in late? Not a sea lamp, right? No, you chose the wrong person.
I was, but it's not an alewife, is it?
No, wrong. Actually, alewife would be an army. Army, yeah. It's a shark, yeah. How did you do it? All right, this is one. I'm going to give you one they didn't hear ahead of time because they quizzed me earlier. How about what do you call a group of turtles? You know this one? Oh, get out! She's not even trying anymore. She just told you. What is it? A bale. A bale of turtles. But hey, you got 2 out of 3 right. You got 2 out of 3. Celia, give it a spin. Eel of Fortune. Sensible choices. This is written by the Sensible Seafood Squad. Name a species on the yellow good alternative list. What species is it? Name a species on the yellow good alternative list. What's a good species of fish to eat?
Catfish?
I guess it's a crab question, isn't it? How about name a crab that's on the good list to eat?
Blue crab.
Yes, all right, good. Yes.
You made me win.
Yeah, because you're my favorite. That's why. All right, good job.
Why did you get a prize?
Eel of Fortune. I love you. All right. Now, for those who know, he volunteers in the Sensible Seafood program. He talks to people every day. We worked together yesterday.
Yeah, we had a great time.
We had a great time. All right. How many million metric tons of seafood are thrown annually overboard as unwanted bycatch?
40 tons.
No, it's 27. Get out!
Wow. Give me another one. Is it really that much?
I'm going to give you another one.
There you go.
I know. Well, they should have given multiple choice on these at least. I should have said 26, 27, or 28. Or should have asked you in standard measure. Should have said how many standard pounds. Ashley. We only have till 7. Come on. Eel of Fortune. Yeah, well, we can just, look at you landed on fishy beers. All right. Whoa, uh-oh. Got it. I got it. I go up. Like I did my homework here. All right. These are choice. I'm going to give you two choices. One is a beer I invented, and one is a real beer. You tell me which one's the real beer. They're all fish related. There are thousands of beers named after fish, turns out. So this is the easy one. I'm going to start easy. Snapper Jack IPA or Red Snapper Ale. Which one is a beer? It's a coin toss.
Snapper Jack.
No, that's wrong. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, it's Red Snapper Ale. Because red ale, right? You're a beer nerd. How about this one? You'll know. Panfish Porter or Dogfish Ale.
Dogfish.
Right. Delaware. Good. How about Bullhead Blonde or Cutthroat Pale? Cutthroat. You're cheating on me. I can't believe it. Congratulations. Nice job. And you get a prize there. Good job.
Thank you.
You get one for being my favorite wine pourer. Or you want to spin the wheel? No? Who's next?
Do it.
Come on. All right. We're going to yell for you. All righty? Eel of Fortune. The best spin ever. Sensible choices. This is a question written not by me, but by the Sensible Seafood Squad. I have no idea what this is.
Okay, so don't hit me if I get it wrong.
All right. True or false? It's easy. Just ask a fishermen provide some of the safest and most environmentally friendly seafood in the world. True, because who else is going to give you seafood? U.S. Fisheries is one of the best managed fisheries in the world of seafood.
I was going to say U.S.
Right. Oh, U.S. Is that what I didn't say it, did I? No. I'm the worst. So you get a prize. Free subscription to the podcast. All right. Oh, and a book. And something. But pick something. The journal. Good choice. Who's next? Someone, come on up. What is your name again? Ashton. All right. Eel of Fortune.
I'm sorry, I just joined.
Welcome. All right. Another question written by the Sensible Seafood Squad. Did you write this? I didn't write it. No. Okay. That would be cheating, right? All right. What? All right. If you get this wrong, you need to apply for a new job. Okay. All right, what percentage of the seafood eaten in the U.S. is farmed?
That's a hard one.
I'm sorry. You're terrible at this. What? 20? 10? None of you know? You guys, is your thing. Who wrote these things?
I cater for a living. I don't need
30? You guys are terrible. It's half. It's half. Hey, what's okay? Because I like you. You're my favorite. You get. All right. Who's next? Who's next? What is your name? Taylor. All right, ready, Taylor?
No, but
good. Eel of Fortune. Give me this fish. Okay, Pacu of Lies. Pacu of Lies. This is called the legendary Nut Cruncher. Our favorite vegetarian run amok, causing headlines to explode. It seems every 6 months or so, a pacu is found in a lake or river and freaks people out with its human-like teeth, piranha-like good looks, and notoriously tendency to bite testicles. This time it was California anglers who caught one in pond in Petaluma, California, about 40 miles north of San Francisco. So, do pacu eat nuts? True or false? Is it true or is it a pacu of lies? Do they eat nuts, which is testicles? If in case you think I'm talking dirty, I am. What is it? It is a lie. That's where the title. By the way, this story appears on Huffington Post every 6 months on the dot. And we've reported on this every single time it happens. We call it a pacu of lies. Snopes.com stole my title. I wrote that. They used it. I emailed them and said, I need citation, please. They would not respond to my emails. We emailed the author, no response. And Pakula I wrote. That's my words. And Snopes, who I love Snopes. But yeah, nice job. That is a Pakula Lies. By the way, also Jeremy Wade did a story on this and did not admit that it was a lie. And the whole thing came initially from a Swedish biologist who was making a joke, and it caught on. There was a warning in Sweden, do not swim naked because of the pacu. Those of us who are never nudes don't have that problem anyway, so we don't worry about it. So that's it. You've listened to a ton of Fish Nerds when you should have been fishing. Of course, I'd like to thank our families for supporting us while we podcast, go on fishing quests, go on fishing trips, and do all sorts of silly things that nerds do. If you would like to support the Fish Nerds, and we do need your support, head to patreon.com/fishnerds and donate $1 an episode. $4 a month would go a long way to sustaining this podcast. Special thanks to the Virginia Aquarium and Marine Science Center, and of course my family for letting me go down there. And until next time, follow the code of the Fish Nerds, spawn early and often, avoid free lunches with strings attached, and swim against the current every chance you get. And eat sustainable.